Oh, yeah. Well, meeting minutes. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I think it's evening for everyone. Raj, Gunjan, Naveen, Palash.
Yes, it's evening.
Are we, is everyone pre-dinner at this point?
No,
I'm post-breakfast right now, so. And sadly, I'm I'm into my first coffee cup, and then looks like I'm gonna do a sugar-free lime edition Red Bull today. Could be intense. Oh, very good. Hey, Palash. I hope I'm enunciating it correctly. Very, very good to have you on. And so just as soon as a few others join, oh, okay, very good. All right. Yeah, I'm still, so it is Palash, and some of the other members here can tell you just how good my Tamil actually is. You'd be amazed. It's pretty well refined. Okay, bad joke. Yeah, yep. So for me, just as we actually looking through the chat here. Sorry, I think I'm doing kind of a monologue, but looking at the chat and watching some new folks come in is fantastic. We've got a couple of minutes as others roll in, so maybe just a little bit of getting to know one another would be fantastic. Yeah, so Palash is first time on the call, which is fantastic, and then I think. Yeah, I'm trying to get to the list. Oh no, we might have just lost him. There was another gentleman who was, I think, first time on the call. Was it Vinesh? Vineet? I missed him. Huh, okay, hopefully he comes back. But Palash, if you're in a position to have audio or video, it would be fantastic to have you introduce and kind of get familiar with folks. And if you can't, I totally understand. There's a number of you that join that just aren't in a good situation to do that. So, so we've got about a minute left. Vinesh is here with us as well as Palash, which is fantastic. A couple of new faces. Some faces that are starting to get old and maybe wrinkled at this point. So Nitish, I'm looking at you as starting to be an old timer at this point. Nitish, I owe you a small chat, I think, which is on the to-do list. So we will get there.
Yeah, sounds good.
I will also at some point get so annoyed with how it is that Google Meet is set up and how many of you I have to admit to the call. That is not the situation we want to be in. So at some point we'll just I guess go the route that everyone else in the world has gone, and that's to go to Zoom, I guess. I think some of you know we've been fortunate enough that CNCF has given us a Zoom account, so we can go use that. When we do, that might even save me a small administrative step, which is, it's been nice that Google Meet has recently given the ability to record meetings to G Suite customers who are on the business plan, not the enterprise plan. So that saved me some manual steps. But even at that, after this call, I've got to go upload the recording. With Zoom, we might just do a live stream to YouTube. So having said that, for those that are here fresh, do know that we record the calls and post them on YouTube. So, use your words, as you will. To move past this very briefly, Palash, it was just asking some questions about me and the community. So a couple of quick words. Yeah, I'm maybe the only one on the call. Well, no, Nitish. So Nitish and I are maybe the only ones on the call that are based in the U.S. And then a number of the rest of us are in various time zones. For me, it's Austin, Texas, and then Nitish, remind me, it's East Coast somewhere. Is it Massachusetts?
Yeah, I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay. I can tell by the thick Boston accent. I just can't.
No, I wouldn't say that, but that's something I picked up over here.
Yeah. No. I guess I can hear your Boston accent about as well as you can hear my Texas accent.
I got one word, chowder.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Maybe enough goofing off. Palash or Vinesh, great to have you guys. I think Vineet is here with us as well. Sagar, have you been on this particular call before? It's great to see you because we were just talking about you in context of.
Last week I joined this call, but someone changed my name on my Gmail account. That's right. Yeah.
Nice. And then, Sagar, do you want to introduce to the crew here?
Sorry?
You want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, sir. So I'm Sagar Utekar and I'm from India. And I'm working at Avaya India Private Limited, which is in Maharashtra, Pune. And I'm working as a cloud and DevOps engineer. So I use Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, all the DevOps tools. And I have good experience on Docker, Kubernetes side, the DevOps side.
Oh, very good. There's another reason why Sagar is here, and that's in part because Layer 5 as a community is participating in a couple of internship programs. We'll talk about this extraordinarily briefly right now, and then probably more on Friday. But I mention it mostly because Sagar is here, and that's that we're participating in Google Summer of Code, Community Bridge. Let me admit that person. And then hopefully Google Season of Docs, we'll see if that goes through. But the Google Summer of Code selections were just announced, and so there's so Sagar is here participating as a mentor, and so we'll talk more about the programs and the individual interns that are there and what objectives we have. Whether you're a mentor or an intern on those projects, it doesn't matter. Those are large projects that we will describe on Friday. And all of you are welcome to participate if they strike your fancy. So just a quick note on that. In part, I skip over that because conceptually today's agenda or the development meeting is to be a bit more in the weeds and a bit more hopefully looking at, talking about designs that you guys have, looking at demos, walking through roadmap items, that kind of a thing. So on that, if anyone doesn't have access to the meeting minutes, please just request it so you can collaborate on the topics. I'm going to take some notes here, but then, but I'll do a call for topics. Who has things to discuss? We all know what happens when no one volunteers topics. Very good. And then Palash. Your access. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hey, Gunjan.
Sir, hi, sir. Sir, actually, sir, I'm working on one issue that is setup prettier. That is in layer 5. Sir, I have a doubt. I'm working on that. So I have a doubt. So do I need to make any command like we have make site or something? Like I am thinking about making a command like make test or make code or something, which will, when I will run make code, so it will check the lint error and it will automatically fix. So is this approach is correct, or should I think about?
Let me regurgitate that back to you. And so, sounds like right now one of your areas of focus is on some of the make commands that are in the make files.
Yes, yes, sir.
Which I think we have quite a few make files.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm talking about the layer 5 repo. So there's a issue called setup prettier, and I go through some YouTube videos, and I came to know that there's ESLint and prettier is good for the our project. And so should I make any command like make code to check which is all those issues and make it automatically correct?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so I'm glad Adina is here because this particular topic has to do a little bit with continuous integration. So Ayush had recently gone through the layer 5 site and run Prettier as a way of formatting and structuring a lot of HTML that was otherwise individual documents kind of strung together, and it was fairly hard to read. And so since he had run it as a one-time operation, the thought was there was a suggestion that maybe we should incorporate that into the build. And so, yeah, I guess there's a couple of ways to accomplish that. Right now, with the layer 5 site itself, it's currently, as you know already, Gunjan, I'm just saying it for the benefit of others, but it's currently a Jekyll-based static content site that is hosted off of GitHub pages, free. The build, if you will, really happens by GitHub itself. And so to me, your suggestion about having Prettier as a utility built into the make command or the make file that we as developers would run every time that we're building the site locally, since we don't, that kind of makes sense to me, because if we're not controlling really what the build process is that's run by GitHub, maybe that's the best place to run it. It's so good, so I'm opening that up for others to comment on.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Today, a lot of times when someone clones this repo, they are, wow, look at that. That's great. When they clone this repo and they go to test their changes locally, the commands that they'll often run are usually you'll end up, if you want to build the site locally, meaning that you've got Ruby and Jekyll installed on your local machine, normally people will run a make site command, which in turn just runs this string of commands and flags for Jekyll. the nice thing about doing running it locally is it's pretty zippy. It's pretty fast to rebuild, and with this live reload flag, every time you make a change in HTML, your browser, Jekyll will rebuild itself, and your browser will reload, which makes development kind of quick. Now, as Gunjan, as you consider potentially incorporating Prettier as a utility that would be invoked by a make command, do you know, I guess a couple ways of thinking about that. One is just incorporating that into the make site command here. I guess the first question in my mind becomes, like, how long does it take for Prettier to run, you know?
Sir, I tried it, but it was fast. But I don't think my current approach is good. So I think I should ask you first. So
Yeah, you know, I haven't run Prettier just yet, so I couldn't say. Does anyone else on the call have? Well, I guess two things. Like, one, have an opinion about build items being incorporated into the main. Like it seems like that might be a utility we might run under a build command, and maybe not under make site. Does anyone? That's one question. The other one is, does anyone know if we can augment GitHub's build process to include something like Prettier?
I don't know if it's possible to augment their build process. I've used some Jekyll sites in the past, and I don't believe that it is. I do use Prettier locally in development, at least through my IDE. And so it's helpful there in keeping code formatted cleanly. And, you know, as I'm writing, it's when I save, it'll go and format and set things up. So I find it helpful there. I don't know that it would have a lot of value, at least from my perspective, in the build process, since that's after the code's already committed in the repo. And then once it's online, people are seeing the generated version anyhow. So it seems like either something that would be like a pre-commit check if you're using that, you know, software. That pre-commit requires Prettier to be reporting, you know, a good state, whatever, before you commit the code, or you just kind of by convention, people who are developing are using that in their IDEs so that everyone has a relatively consistent output.
I agree with. Actually, yes. It will be yes. It will be best if we have Prettier as a pre-commit hook, uh, and it just checks while committing. It just checks if all the files are formatted, and yes, maybe we can give the developer a warning that the files are not prettified. He may prettify it then. He may run a Prettier. Maybe we can have a command in makefile for prettifying, and he can just run that command. Or maybe we can have something in npm scripts like npm run prettify, and that will prettify all the files, and then we can go ahead and commit it.
Very good. Gunjan, were you able to follow most of that?
yeah, sure, sir.
And then Blake, if I'm misquoting you at all, you will correct it. So, but Blake, that was
Looks right to me.
Oh yeah, also that was perfect, Blake. That was very helpful. The only thing that I've seen, so just to comment on like the ability to affect how it is that GitHub will, GitHub pages will build Jekyll sites, is that one, I would acknowledge that there's been a time or two where I've tried to use a gem or a particular theme or something, and I've kind of gotten hung up on the notion that as a user of GitHub pages, I didn't have full control there. The only other thing that I've seen where you can, maybe not the only other thing, but there's this, me see if I can. I don't know if I'm going to describe it very well. Let me admit this person, and then let me see if I can describe this. This is, I don't know if this is really boring for everyone else or if it's a point of interest. Using the Meshery.io site, if everyone's familiar or have seen this site at some point, hopefully there's much more to come on this site. But this repo, this Meshery.io repo is what drives that site. It's a Jekyll-based thing. I'm bringing it up because I've seen, let me sign in as me. I've seen one, two. Well, a set, you know, you can go in and control your, you can protect your branches. So this isn't unique to Meshery.io, but just sort of as an example of things like Blake was talking about. I think like I don't know that you said pre-commit hook, Blake, but
Yeah, I did. Pre-commit's a software that then allows you to define different hooks that you can run checks prior to actually committing things into Git. So you go run git commit, and pre-commit behind the scenes will run a number of checks that you define, and then if all those pass, the commit will actually go through. So that's another thing that you have to use in your repo. If you're not using it, then this actually, what you're recommending is probably a better solution, where you can do these branch protections and have it run different tests or make sure that your CI is reporting certain things passed before it actually allows you to merge that commit.
Nice, very good. There have been a couple of folks in the community who've suggested some pre-commit hooks. I think what ESLint might have been one of the last discussions. So this is what I was thinking of earlier when I was saying, like, I hadn't seen many places where you can modify how it is that GitHub Pages is doing its thing, but I guess this isn't really modifying anything other than just kind of enforcing that any PRs that you have against a particular branch are, that this build action, this build process defined by GitHub, passes. I often find it had been on for some time. I guess just as a way of me learning as well. I had found that I didn't really find value in it. I often found that the feature branches were out of date, which makes sense that happens. But that the time it took to wait for GitHub to update those feature branches, and how very little amount of the time that there was an actual conflict that needed to be addressed, that I didn't really find value in this check. Have others used this? Should we be using this? And not necessarily protecting it, but I mean, running this GitHub Pages check.
I've used it in the past with a documentation site that I was managing, and at least found it useful for people making one-off changes just to make sure that the site's still compiled. Like if they were adding any kind of Jekyll tags or things, that they didn't miss a closing bracket, which would cause the site to not generate. But I do, it does take a little bit of time for GitHub to run through that and report that status is green. So if you're looking to get something merged in quickly, that's not the way to do it, is to have that check on.
Okay. Like that's exactly the kind of feedback that's helpful. Yeah, I think that exposes the notion that I lean a little far forward into being maybe less risk averse, which has me in hot soup occasionally with being impatient about waiting on things. So. Okay, very good. Anyone else have any comments on this particular topic? for my part, I'm glad Blake is here because I just learned a couple of things. This is good.
So we also use it in where I'm working, the pre-git commit on the PHP code. So it's a good thing. I care less on the build sides because of this. So that means that the local setup or environment, when you want to commit, you are already checked on this. So if prettier has some pre-commit package to be used, then it's on Node.js side, right? Or prettier. No, sorry. The source code.
Oh, when you run Prettier, it also updates your source code locally. That's an added benefit.
So on the it's like a linting thing that you are checking before.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that doesn't work then.
I guess while we're talking about pre-commit hooks, I had let me characterize a sentiment that I have toward them, and I'd be really curious for everyone else's perspective as well. That one of the things that we've, as Layer 5 has been a community for some time, we try to be hopefully overly welcoming and warm and encouraging of folks trying to make their mark. And some of us are just doing Git for the first time. Some of us have had 20 years of doing Git, or like at all various stages. But for any of us, it's easy enough to get hung up on making a contribution to a project when something like commit signing is required, or a pre-commit hook in this case is maybe requiring that you've got your YAML in a certain format, or whatever that is. And so we've been hesitant to put up, well, I guess you can characterize it in different ways, but put up barriers to contribution, barriers that are actually healthy for the project in terms of having great code, but maybe not healthy for the project in terms of getting people, getting the contribution motion going for them. So my sentiment had been that maybe we haven't been using pre-commit hooks to date to avoid what barriers to contribution that we can. But the community and the code base are maybe of such a size that perhaps that needs to change. Do other people have opinions or specific pre-commit hooks that they think we would do very well to include? No, all right, that's it. You know what? All right, Naveen, Kush, actually, I think you had suggested maybe a pre-commit hook in the past. I thought it was for ESLint. Any thoughts, things to say?
Coming to the pre-commit hooks for ESLint, we were having issue that whenever we would use a pre-commit hook, it would create some unstacked changes which the contributor need to stack again. So I have not used Prettier, so I'm not sure is there a way of observing changes in Prettier and having a fix command as a separate command, or Prettier integrates this fix command with the observation command. If we have a different command, like which can just tell you that there are some issues with the formatting of your code, then we can have a pre-commit hook for this. And the contributor will know that there are some issues, so he will run the make pretty or make lint or any of the command which we will implement with the make file.
Okay. Any other comments on that topic? Figure since we have our pals from Litmix Chaos here, who, by the way, it's been really nice that you guys have been consistently showing up and engaging. This is great. Anything that you guys might have to announce? Just a hunch.
Nothing right now, Lee. So there is some work going on towards the 1.4 release that we'll have later this month, which involves some more features, including scheduling and also some examples of workflows for chaos. I'll probably share the community meeting link also, which is where we will be discussing the features and also the roadmap.
Thanks. Okay. Very good. Okay. And then in context of the CNCF, somebody had reached out to me yesterday saying there had been an advancement for you guys. So
Yes, that's we did get the recommendation from the app delivery SIG on the PR. So there's some positive development there, and they have agreed in principle that this is good to take into sandbox. Having said that, I think there are some discussions going on around sandbox proposals in general. I happen to be participating in the I just logged into the TOC meeting, and I did see some discussions going on around projects and acceptance criteria and things like that. So yeah, I think we'll have to wait for the next steps. I'm not really exactly sure how the next steps are going to proceed there.
very good. Maybe for context and maybe a little bit of discussion here of what Karthik is calling out about the CNCF sandbox. So for those, most of us are familiar with the Cloud Native Computing Foundation and the fact that of the projects that have been donated to that foundation, that there are three echelons, if you will, three tiers of projects: those that are considered graduated as a label, those that are considered in an incubation status, and those that are in a sandbox. The term sandbox was in part to, it is intentionally to bear the connotation of having a lower barrier of entry, the connotation of being somewhat experimental projects. Those that are underbaked, and as such, the requirements necessary for a project to achieve to get into sandbox have been relatively low. We've been discussing internally to the CNCF about raising the bar of what those requirements are for a project to get into sandbox. And it's not just that we've been discussing those, but early this year, there were one requirement in specific was up-leveled, and that was for each sandbox project to have not just 2 TOC sponsors, but 3. And we've been talking about upping those requirements over the last couple of months. Yesterday, during a CNCF TOC call, there was a proposal to, more or less like lower those significantly, which is sort of a reverse of the discussions that we've been having. It was just a suggestion. There's an active discussion going on. For my part, I'm going to go add I had given some commentary yesterday. I'm going to go add some perspective, or add my perspective, which is, which is to try to make it very short. That is maybe instead what we would want to do is have a fourth project tier where projects inform and come in very, very easily, where there really is no marketing, no marketing given to those projects. The issue with lowering the requirements to enter into Sandbox today is that for the other 15 to 20 that are in there now, it sort of does them a disservice, as they'd have to go through all the diligence to get in there. It kind of degrades the value of the thing. I guess I would make a quick analogy to to martial arts. Martial arts are something that I've done for a really long time. And so as you reach various, as you move through those ranks, I guess I would say it like this: if it was easy to get a black belt, if everybody could get a black belt, well, it's not that it would be meaningless, it just wouldn't perhaps be as meaningful. And so kind of the same sentiment that I would characterize toward making some of the entrance requirements into the CNCF overly easy, at least in that as those 3 levels are defined today. Actually, this is a much longer discussion. There's a bunch of reasons why we would try to correct, like lower the entrance requirements. I think doing so will probably overcorrect. Lots of discussions to go forth on that. Hopefully projects like Litmus Chaos won't get hung up in the midst of those discussions. I don't anticipate that to be true. There has been the occasion where projects have gotten hung up as process changes are in flight. I don't think that will happen here, though.
Okay, I think that's good news, Lee. Thank you.
Yeah. A little bit of it. That was more of a community meeting topic, I suppose. But what else do we want to chat through today? There are loads of initiatives happening right now in this community. Part of what I'm challenging myself to do is to get a description of those much better organized and out for us before we meet on Friday. I saw a dark mode comment. Yeah, Nikhil, I think Nikhil was just suggesting, maybe that we should have a dark mode in Meshery, which I think Anton would second that motion.
Yeah, go dark mode.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, no issues here. That sounds fantastic here. I had taken a moment last time that Ant had actually suggested this, I think, toward layer 5 IO, maybe toward Meshery IO, or toward Meshery itself, which sounds fantastic. I had then taken a moment to say that part of our desire for layer 5 IO as a site in the future is to be running on a service mesh, allow visitors to come to layer 5 IO and have a unique experience in which they can control their experience by actively manipulating the config of the service mesh, and that affecting their experience on layer 5 IO. An example of how they could affect that experience is by enabling and disabling a dark mode that the site itself doesn't support today, and maybe in the future wouldn't support natively, but would support through the mesh, intercepting those packets, replacing CSS code, and sending that back as just a way of helping educate people on possibilities. I'm not suggesting that's what we would do inside of Meshery, but Nikhil, dark mode sounds great to me. Nice. Okay, so 20 minutes left. There's a number of things to talk about, some fairly meaty things to talk about. Does anybody want to volunteer their topic, their focus?
Just probably one more very brief topic, D. So as part of the 1.4 or probably in a patch immediately after that, we might be in the Litmus community might actually be putting up some GitHub actions and GitLab remote templates for chaos for consumption. So I think the CI/CD work group might probably be interested in doing some initial what do you call sanity tests immediately post deployment. Maybe we can just kill the Meshery deployments if there are some, and then just check the health. That's the process has been simplified. May not really need a lot of installation of Litmus components before doing that. You can just pull a GitHub action or a remote template and be able to do that. So that's something I'll probably demo at some point in the subsequent community meetings. Maybe that's one thing that might be of interest to the CI/CD community.
Karthik, that is interesting. Adina, Kush, others that are focused in the CI working group. Any gut reactions there?
That we need to do it. I think also Saim is here.
Oh, that's right. Saim's here. Now, just to clarify for me, Karthik, is those actions, the environment in which those are executed, that would be within the GitHub environment, correct? So not.
Yeah. So typically, the way that we're sort of looking at these actions are, you could have a cluster that you are creating and disposing away as part of your CI/CD. A Kubernetes minimal cluster could be Minikube or a kind cluster, for example, where you just put your deployments and you just see that they sustain certain kind of failures. And those clusters actually can, the kubeconfig files, for example, or the access to those clusters is something that you can dynamically pass through as one of the parameters to your actions. So that way, the action will take care of putting the Litmus dependencies, executing the test, just giving you the output, and then just being done. Or you could probably have a staging cluster where you're continuously testing this. That's also possible.
Okay. So yeah, so either as a transient Kubernetes environment or sort of a semi-permanent kind of staging environment for. Yeah.
Right.
That's cool. Great. Yeah, because I think it was with you guys. We talked a little bit about use of Litmus chaos within pipelines, and
Yeah.
And sounds like you guys are taking a little bit of a novel approach in so much as having a first-class GitHub action.
Right.
Nice. Simon, Medina, any other comments, thoughts on this? It sounds like it's not a capability readily available today, but that Karthik will keep us apprised to the extent that you guys are expressing interest.
I do have a question, but it might be my lack of knowledge of currently Meshery setup. Do we have like a sandbox? I mean, when you, let's say you create a PR for Meshery, and that one is I don't know, merge intermediate or whatever deployed in a sandbox thing, or like let's say you update or add an adapter or something, and now you want to run it. You want to merge your branch, but you have an intermediate environment where it is already deployed.
Right.
Because from what I understand, this is what Litmus Chaos GitHub Actions is doing. Or I express bad.
Oh, yeah. The Meshery as a project is not as far along as it would like to be in terms of having a feature or integration tests run as part of the build process. So there isn't a permanent sort of staging. Well, yeah. Anyway,
Forget about the test. I went in production many times without tests. So.
But it also has Asuko, most notably, has put some effort toward running kind as an action and setting up local Kubernetes environments to deploy Meshery and try to perform some testing, which might be sort of the first touch point for running some chaos experiments as well. So Karthik, actually, it sounds like, I mean, in general, this is certainly a topic of interest to us. There's an individual in the community, his name's Asuko.
Okay.
That I would, if I don't, or someone else doesn't introduce you to him, please poke him. I'm sure he'll be
Sure. Yeah. I'll do that. Is there also a Slack channel for or a group for the CI discussions?
There is. It's Meshery CI.
Okay.
And it's actually a weekly meeting now for specific to those topics.
Got it. This is the Monday meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 10 minutes left. Other topics.
I missed the Wednesday last week discussion and I didn't look up on the recording. But with Saim, I had a chat and he's also interested in having deployed Meshery in cloud. Or I know you also said that and so on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's a community member.
So much available on working this week also, but yeah, we should try to do an approach for AWS, one for Azure, one for Google, or for the Google Chrome. On the last one, I don't have experience, only workshops and so. On the other one, probably Rusty. But yeah, we should also have that. That it is same suggestions and so. I set on mentioning.
And you were saying that in context of like integration integration testing, right, as part of the CI process.
That's a cool thing. I was thinking when Kartik was presenting actually on this one that we can have a sandbox there because there are some free tires.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a good idea as well.
But Saim is here and maybe he can say more because he knows more.
Hi Lee, can you hear me?
Hmm?
Lee, can you hear me? Yeah, it's last time we have discussion about first. I think the Karthik suggestion about Let's Make Care definitely we would have that in mind, and we can set this Monday meeting agenda for that. So in the next coming Monday, we can set the CI agenda for that Litmus Chaos, how we can integrate it. But one more thing that need to be discussed out, that I think I recently saw a post of HashiCorp Console that they have now their service available in Azure, and that's have a beta version that's available here. So my point here is that if more and more service messages goes to the public cloud for that, so whether would that have in a mind or agenda that how we can tackle it, and we go to the cloud as well, that we are not nearest to them, or just had an adopter there and then we can hit on the cloud various points. So I think the point is that if more and more messages goes to the public cloud, so we have to sort out some strategies for that. So one might be strategy that we also move to the cloud and then integrate with that solution. Another might be that we have done what we have already done, and then we trigger some cloud action or some other things we can do. So
Yeah. Maybe a couple of thoughts there, but one of those thoughts, and we're fortunate that Blake is on the call. Actually, Blake is intimately familiar with Console's managed service offering in AKS. Is that yeah, one of the ways that Meshery would interact with Console is potentially in that type of an environment. Like that might actually, I don't know if you're inclined, but it might actually be a point of interest for a quick sort of overview of that managed service offering, in a Friday call. I think Blake is still with us.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, definitely. I think either, I can do a walkthrough of that service offering in one of the calls. That would be helpful, or I can have, one of my colleagues join who's a little more closer to that side. So just for some background, I'm a product manager for Console. So I work, very closely with Console and Console Service Mesh. And then this offering on Azure is managed by our separate cloud team. So they're more productizing it and making it available for enterprises to consume, as a SaaS offering. But yeah, I'm happy to come and speak about it, or again, bring in one of my colleagues who works a little more closely on the cloud team to talk about it. But at a high level, the goal of that offering is just to really make it easy for people to get up and running with a production grade service mesh and not have to learn all the inner workings of how to set it up, how to secure it, how to upgrade it, and obviously scale it as they grow their operations. A lot of people don't want that additional operational overhead, on top of already managing Kubernetes or whatever infrastructure platform is that they have. And so they're just looking for, how can I use it? But when it breaks, I want it to be kind of someone else's problem. I want another throat to choke, if you will. And that's really the goal of what that offering is trying to provide.
My point of interest will be, I'm sure there is, because that's how also it was on the Docker Swarm on Azure. I'm calling you so because I need to identify that on the Azure. You probably have an Azure template, right? Where you set up you need to set up only the nodes and whatever things, or is it from UI? I'm interested in see a template that we can use, and so like I don't know the
Yeah,
correct
so this is an application. Sorry, go ahead.
that, or it's like a YAML file, like a yeah, it's you had
Yeah, I can share some information, I guess, in here. I will send something here in the chat. Let me actually pull up a video. But one of our technical marketing folks at HashiCorp did a walkthrough of this offering on HCS. And so they show kind of how you set it up. But basically, it's available as an application in the Azure Marketplace. So you can go search in the Marketplace, find console, deploy it, and it'll walk you through, you know, a wizard of selecting your instances, your virtual network that you want to peer with in order to set up, you know, or make console available to the rest of your corporate or, you know, enterprise network. It'll walk you through some settings like that, but then behind the scenes, it'll spin up console for you. So you don't have to go and dive in and configure YAML values. It'll set up all of that, set up security, ACLs, everything. And then so at the end of that deployment, you know, you're provided access into that already configured console cluster. And then you can just start, you know, using it, deploying applications, enabling them, you know, for the service mesh functionality, and start using things without having to go through all that additional, you know, kind of work from steps that an operator would have to do in order to stand up and secure the environment.
yeah. Let's say I want to shut it down. I only want to trigger it when a build is done or something like that. I will have. So that's why I'm saying about an Azure template deployment. Deployment, not I don't know. Like yeah, setting up a clusters with everything we need and so on, but using the template, not using the Azure interface on selecting the apps from the. Is that possible? Or
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know particularly if we have an Azure template that would allow you to do that. We do have a Helm chart. So if you have an AKS cluster, you can deploy that via Helm, and then you have that access to configure exactly the settings you want. You have a way to, you know, stand this up in an automated fashion that's outside of the marketplace offering. So that may be another way to enable what you're asking for, but I can circle back with our cloud team to see if there's other ways that would do this that might fit what you're also looking for.
they already have it somewhere in GitHub.
Yes, the Helm chart's available in GitHub. It's github.com/hashicorp/console-helm. And you can find it there or on the, you know, console.io website. If you go over to the docs, there's a Kubernetes section, and it'll have instructions there on how to use the Helm chart to stand up console on Kubernetes.
Yeah. Also, what you said before, it's good to bring on Monday. Thanks. Sorry for interrupting. I'm done, Lee.
No, this is so Blake. We'll take you up on that offer. Maybe if you and one of your colleagues have got a spare 20 minutes or so on a Friday of your convenience, just signal. There's interest, and we'll grab that.
Yeah, definitely will do. Thanks, Lee. In the meantime, I sent a video here in the chat. I was able to find that video on YouTube, but it's a walkthrough of setting up HCS on Azure.
Very good. And the link is also in the meeting minutes in case as we go to end right now, if people don't get it, but it's there. So yeah, kudos on that offering. This is pretty cool. All right, we're a minute past. Everybody good? No one has any, emergency last minute things? Okay. Next meeting is the community meeting on Friday. I'm sure we'll see most of you there. So good to see everybody today. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Yes.
Bye bye.